All right. Good morning, everybody. Thank you for attending Cogitate's annual review. It's going to be a little bit of a busy day today, so I'm going to kind of move through things pretty quickly. We are pretty excited about this last year. We're with all your support and everything. We've had a pretty decent year going into it. I'm going to be covering some of that, so let's just jump right into it. We will be having another webinar on June 2nd. I know it seems quick. Primarily, that one is going to be related most likely around the document management and where we're at with that. So everybody gets a chance to get a good overview and see through of how document management works and comes up with that. But I'll be doing a little bit of that possibly today. But so that's before I get any further. I do want to announce that we will be attending the CRAE meeting on the 20th for the welcome reception. So you will see us, at least myself and Paul, and possibly there might even be a sneak appearance by Brett at this meeting. So we'll be there. Say hi to us, and you can talk to me all about my little next phase of my life. First thing I want to mention is that we do live in a great state. We have a lot of beauty in the state of Michigan, and all of my backgrounds today for my presentation are from images that I pulled off of highlights of the state of Michigan. So I kind of enjoy these backgrounds. It makes the webinar look a little better than just plain boxes, but I just wanted to let you know these are all these images come from the great state of Michigan. All right, so today's agenda. We're going to do a review of last year's projects that we completed. We will be going over a company financial report. We're going to talk a little bit the longevity and sustainability of Cogitate as a company. I'm going to kind of give you what we plan on doing after document management, so the near future. So most of these things should be completed or finished by the end of the year. And then finally, if there is time, I want to go with a quick preview of document management, kind of a little show and tell of where we are at this point, at this stage of the development cycle for the document management. So a review of last year's projects. We did quite a bit last year. First thing we did is we did a big update on our remote control system to be able to work on more computers that used to just always fail, and we always had to go to show my PC. We built a backdoor in so we could kind of force that forced start. Some of you have had to do it, but that was a pretty big amount of work that we did to get that to function well. But it was important to do. We did add a support for the federal dependent care rules. So if you have if you have a dependent care benefit at the Road Commission, where we have the ability to properly put together the payment and the specific rules around dependent care. And again, likewise, we added the Michigan ESTA support. So we have the ability to at least give you a way to get your number of hours in, or the number of ESTA hours in. We plan on doing some more to that over the next while, but we want to kind of see where that goes, because there's already 3 petitions to completely remove it. So who knows, what's going to happen at our state legislature. So I'm kind of holding off on doing a lot of, work on it until we know that this is going to be a long-term thing. We updated our quarterly tax report system to, as many of you know, to start to ask you now for your deposits to make sure that your deposits are equaling what you did. So if you did happen to make a different deposit, a dollar amount, you can put that in, and we can then generate a proper 941 from that with the right dollar amounts, whether you need to pay more or get a refund on your next one and apply it. We are also looking at doing a lot more with the quarterly tax report to be able to eventually make it so we can generate an electronic file to upload instead of a paper print. Financials we did 2 years ago, but it's important to note that we really want people to start using it. If you found that before it didn't use it, we've made so many adjustments and additions to it since the time it was released, when it may not have worked for you. We would like you to see if you can take another swing at seeing if this is going to be functional. The one thing you should know is in about 2 years, the budget calc program will be gone. So we definitely need to start looking at anything that you're working with budget calc. We want to start getting either into and export to an Excel for you, or see if we can't get the financials budgeting any kind of changes we do it. So if there's something there that you need, please jump on top of us and we'll try to get rolling on that. So we could eventually, when the time comes for the budget calc to finally go away, it won't be such a burdening on everybody for last minute. We added the verify address ability all over the system. So now you can just click on the button. You don't have to buy anything. You don't have to get an account anywhere. So we're providing you one. It does require a web internet to go up to a place called Smarty Streets, and it will then do a verification on your address and fill in all the missing components to it. It's helpful sometimes when you're not sure if the address you have on file is the correct address. So it's there for you. Use it as much as you need. We updated our updater. The thing here that we wanted to do was we had a lot of places where, like one of your people that are not an administrator would click on an update and it would go off and do a system-wide update that everybody had to do. And we really didn't want to do that anymore. So what we decided was the update now, if you're not an administrator, you'll never know if there's another update that updates the database version, which gives it a new layout or new features for that. And so the administrator can delay or not put one in if they're not ready to support what came up in the update. Now you're still going to get the updates. You'll still get the update notes and everything of things we've done, but you may not be on that date of that piece. So, but if you're an administrator, please be aware you do have to, when you sign in, you will get a second indication that there is a update available after you sign in. Obviously, we need you to sign in to be able to know if you're an administrator. We did a TIN verify or a tax ID verify to the IRS and a SSN verify to the Social Security location so that you can send a single file, a single number, a group of numbers, all of the people in your place for it, including the dependent Social Security numbers for employees, to verify these Social Security numbers and tax ID numbers to make sure that your 1099s and your W-2s and your ACAs are all correct with proper identification for each individual that we have in the system. And they're nice automated things. Again, though, you're going to need internet to be able to get to the different websites to submit the files for them. But we did build it so that you could do that and get that response back from them, so you can make sure that the data you have on file that you're submitting to the government is correct. We updated the accounts. A lot of people didn't like it. It's different than the old one, but it does have some extra features on it that are going to be important as we go forward. You're starting to get, hopefully by now, you're starting to get kind of used to the way we're doing filtering with the tree on the other side to find things. We are looking at possibly adding some more things to the accounts, and it's always chart of accounts is always an ongoing place to where we're going to be doing changes and things. Supervisors, we created a supervisor screen to set and verify supervisors for employees, plus show employees that don't have a supervisor and give you a little bit of feedback on something that could be kind of easy to miss, as well as if you have two people as a primary supervisor to an employee, those kind of things like that. Again, put that together mainly for the ability for my work to have the approvals. We did change the inventory mate screen to show the new way with the two windows and be able to walk through inventory a little bit differently. Again, there's still more work we can do on this. We're never really ever done on anything, but we're just trying to improve the day-to-day operations as much as we can. Fixed assets was a big one at the end of this year or the beginning of this year, where we modified the fixed assets and the fixed asset calc. So that kind of took a little bit of the wild west out of the fixed assets calculation and management. So you can't just go in and add capital amount to an asset that's already been half calculated for depreciation, things like that, just to control things. We went a little far on some things. We've kind of backed off on that. So again, this is just something we did this year. we're going to be doing a lot of this stuff over the next couple of years where we're moving from one to another. And then finally, our just recent one, which was purchase orders and restock calc. And again, there we put a few more regulations and rules on how purchase orders and restock calc work. We did as much as we could to, try to make it as, similar as possible to the old one. But again, the old one was kind of a wild west approach to purchase orders where even if it's been closed, you could go in and modify some of the stuff before. So we wanted to make sure that the rules, kind of the basic accounting type rules around a purchase order are maintained. Plus, we added some authorizing to it so that you have the ability to authorize the purchase order before that. And when that happens, we stop and don't let you make any additions or subtractions to the items being ordered once it's been authorized. Our company financial report, and this is, it's not really a financial report. I'm not going to show you tax dollars or things like that. I'm basically just going to say a couple of things about how we are. One is, Cogitate is right now completely debt-free. We don't owe, we don't have any company debt, we don't have any long-term debt, we don't have any short-term debt. We truly are completely debt-free. What's important about this is that it means we're not, and our income is not governed, or our company is not, under the ability of somebody to come in and say, because we didn't pay our debt, that they can, claim assets from the company. So we plan on staying debt free. There's no reason for us at this point that we can see to go off and try to borrow money to do any kind of expanding. Second, all of our expenses right now are covered by the collective support fees that we have. So we're not relying on new sales to stay solvent. What's important here is that we have the ability now to basically, if nothing changes, if we don't lose a ton of customers, we're basically saying we are still relatively safe and we're not going to be going away because of money as far as the day-to-day expenses. So we've been living like this probably for the last 15, 20 years, where I've made sure that once I got out of debt, I was able to make all of our expenses cover the support fees, are covered by support fees. So again, it's important to note that this is a little bit different than a lot of companies, because a lot of companies do rely on sales to stay solvent. Now, we do accumulate a small profit each year. It's usually under 50K. And then we pretty much every year vote for the company to reinvest that money right back into the company, either in purchasing new computers, or enhancing our healthcare system, or providing other services to the employees. So it's not like we make $700,000 a year in profit. It's a very small amount. And like I said, it's not like we take it home, but we pretty much reinvested back into the company. Now, that can change. We may decide one year to say, hey, we want our little checks, little profit back checks. But for the most part, we try to make sure that we don't spend a lot of money or give a lot of money to the federal government in business tax, because they tax the profit, not necessarily the revenue. The state of Michigan takes care of the revenue for us. So anyways, I just want to let everybody know this is what we do. And then we also, right now, we're carrying 4 months of expense coverage in liquid assets, bank accounts, savings accounts, a variety of other bank institutions that are easily converted into liquid cash. So again, we're doing our best to move forward on a very solid financial basis for a small company. So we're trying to talk a little bit about longevity and sustainability of Cogitate. I just want to cover this so that you guys understand, we're in no shape of, going away or losing, tons and tons and tons of experience just yet. So that's what the fish is for. My plans on retiring is 2033, which is 8 years from today. So I'll be here for a while. During the course of the next 5 or 8 years, Paul will be stepping into president, and I will be here as a parachute or safety net for 2 or 3 years before I finally retire. So again, Paul being the one to be tapped on the shoulder to step in. He knows about this, so this isn't news to him. But as you know, you've been talking with Paul more and more on the phone, and he's been, doing a great job taking care of running the financials of everything, making sure we stay on top of all of our taxes and payroll and things like that, and making sure the money doesn't, he's the one making sure that we live within our means. If I had my way, I'd be buying my boat and getting out on the lake every week. Uh, right now, I don't have a boat, and I'm not getting out on the lake every week. So he does a good job of controlling the cost. We do also have two younger programmers on staff. They're 30, 32 and under. 33 and under now. I think he just turned 33. So they're not necessarily, 18-year-olds, but they are younger programmers. So they have no plans on going anywhere soon or in the next little bit. Um, in here, I didn't mention it. Brett will probably be retiring in 2034, maybe sooner. I don't, it depends. I haven't really asked him on his plans yet, but we're both coming up onto that. But we think that, Paul will be able to pick up on most of the slack by the time we come out, by the time we do retire. And then we're going to be adding this year one more staff, another programmer. So again, probably someone in their late 20s. We'll be adding on to the staff this year for another programmer. And then that will probably be complete the amount that we have each year for, sustainability. Just so, this is kind of where we're heading into the future. So I'm going to jump in real quickly to our near future development. This is stuff that we'll be working on from the last half of this year once document management's been released. So we're going to be trying to put together our Act 51 helper. What that's going to do is there's like the first 7 or 6 pages of an Act 51 are basically financials that have been added together, summed together, modified together with percentages and things like that. So we're going to try to be able to put something together that you can print out that will be those first 6 pages of not necessarily of the exact Act 51, but at least a spreadsheet that indicates what each ones are. So you can, from the spreadsheet, then turn around, but it will come all from your data without a whole lot of requiring your input on it. Part of that we've done already with the account numbers, but we plan on moving forward on that over this next little bit. Also, we want to put together the ACH file generation for payables. So when you go into payables, if you mark vendors to be paid with S or EFT payments, then they'll be marked so that we can pick them up and generate a ACH file to be able to send to your bank, and the payments will be made directly, just like direct deposit is being done now for payroll. We plan on putting a messaging system into MyWorks. What that's going to look like, we're not certain, but basically it'll be where the employee will sign in. If there's a current message, it'll pop up on their front, startup page. Otherwise, there'll be a menu item that they can go in and see a message. We're hoping to make it a two-way message, so it's going to be sort of like a long-term chat message kind of a thing. That's kind of what we're going to model it on, and you'll be able to run, use it within the ProFund accounting application as well. So you can send a specific message to your employee, and your employee can send a response back to the main office. We're not certain if we're going to allow employee to employee messaging in it yet, but we haven't, again, this is just, we plan on doing it. We're going to look into it. We're going to plan on it. So we're hoping to, like I said, we don't know how far it's going to take, but initially it's just going to, at this point, the plan is just for it to be main office to employee, employee back to main office. We're going to be doing an email overhaul. What that means, well, I know some of you are like, oh no, not no more email crud. We're basically going to stop supporting SMTP, and that's a kind of a technical term, but what's happened over the last few years is, Google, Microsoft, Wahoo, all of them are putting more restrictions and more and more restrictions on the ability for their SMTP servers to send mail to places. So the long and short of it is we're going to be providing our custom, the same email provider that we've been using when we send out our blast messages to everybody, so that way, there's no more, the email shouldn't be difficult, and everyone should be able to get out there sending to the, their people for the, well, I can't say this correctly. They should be able to send email to everybody for export pay stubs. If you're using the alerts inside of our call log, to be able to send out call log emails, things like that. So all of those should now, will be, when we go to do this, will be overhauled and put into a centralized system. And then, of course, we're looking for any requests, over the time we want, we need this little thing added or that little thing added from all of you guys. We want to, we listen to those, we do them. In fact, we just got done releasing something this last week with our last update, was something that came in just that morning, and then by the afternoon we had it released. So a lot of times it's just small things like that that are big things for you, and we won't know that unless you tell us what you need. So again, I'm asking, please tell us what you need. These are the big picture things that I'm talking about, but like I said, we're more than welcome taking some of these smaller things from you guys and getting them, put forth. All right, so I'm going to talk a little bit about document management on a PowerPoint presentation, and then I'm planning on showing a little bit of it on currently where we're at with things. So the first thing is we need early implementers so that we can, as we're putting out changes, and you guys can, an early implementer will be able to help us structure how this thing is going to work for the road commissions. So what we're looking for is anyone who wants to help us get this thing right and done right. So if you really, really, really want this to work the way you want it, sign up for an early implementer. To be able to be considered, just send us an email or send me, president@cogitateinc.com, an email real quickly for us to, and I'll basically look over them, and I'll be choosing 3 different early implementers for the document management, and then those 3 will get software, special for the document management, and then we can start working on making sure that the process, the flow, the things like that are all done in a way that most road commissions will need. And then we're anticipating the release to be either the end of July or sometime in the middle of July. So again, I need people that, want to look at it now based on what they see from today as we're going forward in things. So we've been, again, trying to build this with road commissions in mind, what we think you're going to want to put in document management and how you want to work with document management, but sometimes our minds don't match your minds. So again, why we want early implementers. So if we have to make a major change, we can do so with time enough to be able to put that together and make it, a pleasant release for everybody. One thing to note about our document management is we're going to be storing everything as a PDF file. We made this decision basically because within a PDF file, we can stick an image, or we can stick a photo, or we can stick, a spreadsheet or a variety of things inside of a PDF file and be able to display that PDF file without it being something that, is we got to go and get Excel to show the file, or we got to go and get an image management to show a file. So we wanted to make sure that everything was a PDF file so we could view it. That's basically what we're doing. So once you put one of your PDF files into our remote control system, once you put it into our document management system, the PDF file will be password protected. So the things that are staying in our secured area are password protected PDFs that we create when you move one in. So you'll be able to see, those things will happen, and that way nobody can directly access the share area where the passwords are. We added support from scanning from both a local device and network scanners. So depending on if you got like your like we have here, we got a big printer that has scanning abilities, and we talk to that printer from their network. And then of course I have a desktop scanner here, a little $99 Epson desktop scanner that we use, and I'll be showing that today. So but we do support scanning from both. And if you're worried about if your current scanning system for scanning a document isn't available, we can certainly, pay attention, and we'll help with as much as we can get support for that scanner that you have. We added the ability to group document types in a variety of ways. So hopefully you'll see some of that today. And we'll, again, there's just a lot of this is still under consideration, and the early implementers will be able to make, will be able to tell us what adjustments we need to make. And finally, as part of our moving from into PDFs, we're able to grab an OCR scan of your PDF and get keywords to be obtained that are obtained from the PDF. And I'll kind of show you how that. And we'll be adding a search by those keywords. So if you're trying to look for a PDF that came from this person on this particular date with the number 58 in it, there's a good chance that that's from the PDF. Now the short term is, if you have really big PDFs, the search keyword is only the first page of the PDF. So if you have a multi-page PDF, we're only grabbing keywords from the first page. That's primarily just due to the fact that these things can get very long, and it picks up a lot of words. You'd be surprised at how big they get. So we're only doing the first page right now. If that becomes an issue, maybe we can do more than one page. It's just all just depends on, again, we don't know what the need is. We can certainly do more than one page. And likewise, all of our previews in the document management are just the first page. We don't show all the pages for a preview. And mainly that's just due to performance. If you load the whole document, it takes quite a while. So for when they're big. And I don't know if you guys are creating big documents with a lot of pages in your scan, like you have an auto document feeder that's scanning and generating, really big ones with 25 pages, 30 pages, or if you're just scanning one page at a time and saving those off as an image or PDF currently. We have one final thing to cover, and that is, this is my question and answer. I know it's exciting. Ooh, questions, and there it is. It's an answer. Don't worry, it only does it once. All right, so I'm going to leave the slideshow there. So for document management, there's several pieces to the document management part. And if we get started with it, the first thing will be is you basically tell us a SharePoint. So right now it's one of our SharePoints that uses so it's a network share. You won't be able to do document management to your local desktop. It's going to be a network share. A couple months ago, we did a questionnaire about whether you wanted it on like a Google or OneBox or Dropbox, and most people said they just want it on their local LAN, and they'll back it up on their local LAN so they have instant access to the files, which is fine. And we're just, like I said, that's what we planned on. That's what we built so far. If that becomes more of an issue, we did build it so we could put something on the Google Drive, but a lot of the performance really will be, detrimental when it's there, because we have to read the file to show certain things. So the first thing I want you to know is on every one of these, there'll be a folder for document management at the high level, because we're letting you assign a document to just about anything in the system. And some things make more sense than others, but we just want to let you know that each one of them, well, I don't think in tools we have document management here. So yeah, there's one we missed. But basically, what we've been working primarily around payables as a start for just being able to scan invoices in for when you're posting a payable. So we're going to show that a little bit. So if I go to payables post and I'm going to bring up a journal that I already been playing with. It's got two different vendors with two different pieces. You'll notice a little button here called PFA documents. So basically that's what we're going to get to. So if I go to this one and I click on PFA documents, it shows the invoice that I did from the scanner. If I just click over it, I'll get the preview of it, which doesn't take that long. But if I double click it, I'll get the full image of it. And in here, I'll do fit to page. And that's the scan that we did of this document. Now, we don't have real invoices. We just have, play invoices kind of a thing. But you kind of see how this is going to go for what you're doing. Now, if you don't want to do it, you can certainly keep posting. and then come back and add the documents. You can post and add documents. This button is kind of open for when you feel like you want to do something with it. It will only show up when you finally actually have a real completed. So in other words, if I go and let's say if I do a new in here, and let's going to go to, we'll go to a nice, pick a vendor, LGI Homes, fine. And then basically my invoice is 512. I got an invoice number 45621 or 12. And the dollar amount is $123.44. And I go to my distribution, I say new, I come in here, I don't have the account numbers on hand, so I'm just going to scroll down. Engineering sounds like a good one. And I'm going to save it. So as soon as I do that save on the outer edge, PFA Documents lights up as a button. So then I can click PFA Documents. It's going to come up. It says, this is the invoice I'm dealing with. This was the dollar amount. That was the date of the invoice. This was the vendor. Now, I can do things like I can add a new file, which will take a file that's on my hard drive and add it. I can add an existing file that's in the document management. So I can look at there, and this will show you the last, I think it's going to be 15 files that we've brought in. Or I can do a new scan, which is, again, scanning of our images. And I'm going to go to my, let's do Twain on my Epson, and I'm going to put a page in. So page in the Epson, and you can play with the different settings you want. I'm going to do black and white. I'll hit scan. Yeah, it's scanning it in. And there it goes. And here's the invoice that it just scanned in. And again, this, all this stuff is, governed by you can kind of look at it. Looks pretty good to me. I'm just going to say done. As soon as you say done, it saves that scan as a PDF and it puts it right into our system. I didn't make it as an invoice. So, but anyways, I can click on it. I'll see the preview. I can double click. I will see the big invoice thing. I can click at the OCR text that it brought in. You can kind of see it looks kind of goofy like this, but it's just all the individual words that the thing could find in there. So we can search on this to be able to say if you're looking for something that has one of these items on it, we can find it. Variety of other things that we want that you can do. Again, I'm not trying to make this a complete show and tell of it. I'm just trying to let you know, we've gone quite a distance with it. So you can say, okay, that's great. So now I've got these, different documents here. I'm going to go ahead and commit this. Then we can either come back into vendors, and inside of most of our maintenance now, there'll be a little button here for the documents. So I use First YAD. So if I go to the docs on him, this is all the documents that I've scanned for that vendor. So the different invoices. Now we are working on, making this a little bit nicer, but yeah, I can click on it. Again, just like before, you can click and get the preview. You can double click to actually open it, or you can click it and click open to open it and get the whole thing. But if let's say I can't remember what vendor, I can close this. I can go under payables and go to the big document management, and this is all my vendors and their different categories that they have for things. So if I'm looking at invoices, I can see all my invoices, and these are the references for the vendors. So again, I can go here, I can delete that invoice, I can open up that invoice. So we got kind of, we've covered quite a bit on how we're putting it all together and what we are doing with it. Document management, again, is we're doing a lot with it. We're trying to do a lot with it. So many things can happen. And I'm going to kind of leave it there. That way, you kind of get to see, we have the scanning done. Let's do one other scan. So let's go into just vendors, and I'm just going to say, let's just pick a weird vendor. AT&T sounds like a good one. Diamondback Energy, why not? And I'm going to go into docs for that vendor. So it shows me that vendor. I'm going to do a new scan. And suppose I'm not going to use my little one. I'm going to use our Canon. And I'm not going to use the feeder. I'm going to just use the flatbed. I'm going to scan it. And my scanner out in the other room is going. And it brings in this document here with it. And I can adjust when I bring in the scans, you can adjust the background colors. It depends on how it scans in. You can adjust some of these things if you need to. We can crop it, do a lot of things. So we'll just go ahead and take it. And I'm going to say this was the W9, and I'm just going to say done.
Can you change the name of a scanned file?
This whole naming thing we're going to be changing around anyways. We thought that what we had was a good way, but it wasn't. So one of the things we're dealing with today is how this looks for you guys. You can also see it in a list if you don't want to see it as little icons on your thing. But we figured that most individual places you're going to want to see icons because there's only 3 or 4. And with the W9, that means this is their W9 that you look, and then if it's not, then it's the file name here that they've got. So they should click on that and they should be able to say open, hopefully. Yeah. And again, all of this should work, relatively fast. All right. Well, that's really all I got. So now I am open to any and all questions and answers. Get back to my document page.
Well, we did have one question about document management.
Okay.
And that was, will we be able to rename the scanned file names?
As far as when you say the scanned file names of what you see in the document management system, or the physical file name of themselves? No, but the file name, once it's scanned in, once it's in the document management system, the whole idea is that we're managing the file and the file names. We use the file names to let us know like the date, the origin, a variety of other things. But we will have the ability for you to say any kind of descriptive name you want to say. So when you look at it in our system, it'll have any name you're looking for. But the physical file name itself, those are basically, those are going to be protected because we want to make sure that this is truly a document management system, not just a copy of a PDF document. So yeah, so sort of yes and sort of no, if you look at it from that point. I'm here till 11:30 for questions. So go ahead and shoot anything you want to talk about. And like I said, if you really want to be one of the early adopters of this to help us get it straightened out, working the way you think the road commissions need, please sign up to be one of the early adopters of it.
George, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you, Lisa.
How are you?
I'm doing well. My surgery went well. So
Great.
I'm one of those guys, I call myself the gutless wonder.
Yeah, well, that's good news, though. You're doing good. I have some questions. I'm not sure if this is appropriate, so we
Sure.
can talk
Go-
later if you'd
Nope,
like.
it's always appropriate. Everybody loves to hear questions.
There's a lot of people on today that attend the Cogitate work group we have. It's just kind of a little informal group that we got together 3 or 4 years ago. And we start talking about Cogitate. We usually end up morphing into other things that are going on big in the office. But it's been a super great help to us. And we are going to be meeting that day at 10 o'clock in the morning. We're going to try to meet real informally with our laptops and stuff on Tuesday, the 20th. But it'll be nice to see you at the welcome reception.
Yeah.
But one of the things I've talked about for like 2 years in this work group is that I want to get the financial reporting that I do in Excel to come out of Cogitate. And so I'm getting really close to being able to actually put some hours into that. I know there's a few other people that do that are on today, but where do I start? Do you guys have good videos, good directions?
We have some initial videos that, I wouldn't say, I hate to say the word good because I always think they're good, but they're from our perspective and not necessarily your perspective. So they may not be what you're needing, if you know what I mean. But if it's not, let it, really we try to make the little quick videos just being, oh yeah, this is how I click on that, kind of reminders, not necessarily how do I consume and use the content correctly, if you follow the difference there.
Okay.
Because it's, everybody has their own little take on things. And, again, we're just like, this is how you would add a line. This is how you would add a budget line. This is how you would add a, expense account, things like that. Whereas, what expense accounts do you want to group together and things like that become a bigger question. But we do, at least start with the how to work the system. And then you could try talking with, I don't know if anybody else has adopted it. I'd like everybody to. Um, if you see
Oh.
what I'm saying.
Yes. And so do you do the budgeting and financial reporting in the same spot under financial reporting? Because you made
Yeah.
a comment earlier that budgeting was going to go away.
Yeah, the budget calc is going to be
Okay.
going away at probably 2 years from now. It's not on the docket anytime soon, and we're not going to be making a replacement, to take the existing budget calc and enhance it. We're moved on to, let's use Excel for what Excel is good for, and not try to build our own Excel, if you know what I mean.
Got it. Who do you want me to call when I have questions when I'm building my financial reporting?
Any one of us, you could call the support line, or my guess would be, like I said, first reach out in your group. I don't know if anybody's doing it right now. Hopefully some people are. I know initially a lot of people started it and then it had some flaw in there that we didn't anticipate, and they had to stop trying it. And I don't know if they've had time to come back to it since we corrected the flaw. Again, there's just certain things that we just didn't anticipate within it, like everything. We don't live in your shoes. We're just trying to provide software as best we can that's why we need input from you guys as much as possible during these, things, so that software that we provide is something you actually can use.
Okay.
So where actually, George, do you build the financial statements? Under what module? Under financials?
Under general ledger, there is a financials, and then over in the utilities, there's a financial statements.
Utilities.
Can we look at it?
Yeah, you guys have it now. Financials has been out for years now, or for at least over a year.
Yeah, and I use something else, so I haven't looked into this for a while. I played
Let
with
me-
it one day, but
Let me see if I can get to it on mine here real quick. I don't know if I'm still sharing my screen.
how many of us on the call, is anyone using this?
Yeah, some people have their own budgeting software that they purchased, years ago, because we didn't have anything that could, satisfy all the things they wanted. But again, it's time to, like I said, the budget calc is going to be eventually going someplace, going to the wayside, and we put this together. If, like I said, you can come in here, and if you run I think the report is financial statements, and if I run it, basically I choose the year 2022 for this day. I load it. Yeah, I don't think I had a budget. I think I just had my database doesn't have a big budget set up anywhere. Let's see. Yeah, I'd have to struggle to get something real quick. It takes a bit, but once you get it down, it's like I said, we've done a lot with it. We've talked over it with a lot of folks. Please try to get it to work. If it, try to get through it. The first start, is always in the financials. You want to come into, let's just do 2023. Let's see if I can't do that. So I don't have one for 2023. So I want to use previous year's actual minus cost of roads. Create that, start with that. Okay, so I've got some things in here for budget dollar amounts based on what the last year's financials ended with. So I'm just going to go ahead and basically save that for now. There's a lot more into it. You can put in the fringe rate. You can put in, percentage adjustments, like you want a 2% adjustment for everything. Just a lot of little things you can do there. But now I have one for 2023. So now if I go to financial statements, I can then load 2023s in. And it gives me, your first set of financial sheets. liabilities, equity funds. I can go to the details for the budget. Shows my budget, the lines that I've got put in for the budget lines. I can look at a profit and loss report and you can do drill downs in this. That's the nice thing. So like here we show all the expenses if you want to see them individually. And then of course you can always save this to a real Excel spreadsheet, and it doesn't just save it saves the whole thing to an to an Excel spreadsheet. This is your monthlies for your first month, second month, third month, fourth month kind of thing. So again, there's just a lot in here that this does. We think correctly. We are hoping correctly from what we gleaned from all of the comments when we were building it. It's correct, but it may not be what you are used to giving to your board. It can only build what we're trying to build something that almost everybody can use. If there's something that we missed, like I said, please let us know, and we're glad to try to fit something in that's on here. But you can kind of see this is what we're talking about doing. There's a lot of options in here that all have, like if I put a fringe rate in, it will include the fringe rate in here with it. If you don't want the fringe rate in, you can take it out for a run, things like that. That's really makes it kind of nice. You can just, basically take it out, click on the load fund again, and now it's all without the fringe rate. If you follow that. And again, this is, basically an Excel spreadsheet reader, if you would, that we have. And then you can save it to real Excel just by hitting a single button and save it out to your, documents folder and save it. And then if I go into my documents folder, now it's in Excel. I use dark Excel. I don't know why. Probably because my eyes hurt.
We do have a couple of questions.
Oh yeah, that's fine. We'll be there in a minute.
Okay.
Okay. So that's my quick, 2 cents on financials. Hopefully that'll get you started, but you could call and we can help you through every step of the way on the phone. We're not opposed to any of that. The idea of the financials is that it goes to an Excel file, not necessarily to the budget calc has a lot of things that are really specific to a very difficult way of doing something. So if there's something you need, if you have something you want to get a financial statement out, we'll help you to try to bend what you have to get financials out. But again, the idea here is we need something that everybody can support, and supporting that budget calc is very difficult to do. Is it going to be removed? Yeah, it's going to be removed in 2 to 3 years. It won't be there. So just letting you know now. It'll be a while. We'll do something when it goes out. I mean, we have the export to Excel functions that we added. We can build just about any current budget calc that you have now in that, if you need that, specifically, but we're going to ask for most of the financial side. I mean, because there's some things budget calc does with hours and stuff like that. But for the financials, we tried to build this budgeting system to be able to support a way that will make all financials, somewhat common between everybody. So that way we're not, I know you might have a specific report that you got it.
Yeah, I guess looking at it and looking at like it's rolled up at the 4th level.
Yeah.
I just don't know how all of us roll up our financial statements. Maybe it's a discussion for our next Cogitate work group.
It could be something you might want to dig into at the next work group. We can roll up at Paul, can we roll up at the 3rd level?
We default to the 4th level, but you can add an account at any level in the expense and revenue side.
Yeah,
so if you just want to create an empty budget.
Right. We did that before where we had it. We forced everybody at the 4th level. That was a problem because some things are at the 3rd level, some things are at the 5th level. We had since now taken, that was like I was trying to tell you, some of the things that we thought would be like everybody would want it this way. It didn't turn out so much. So you can budget at any level you want.
Yeah. So for me, I roll up my revenue at the 4th level, but on my financial statements, but my expenses at the 3rd level. What
perfectly
does
fine.
everyone,
That's
what
fine,
does
but you can do
everyone
that.
else do?
You can do
I'm
that
just out
now.
of just
Yeah.
out of curiosity, some of the other finance directors. Lisa, what do you do? Okay, so
Third,
Michelle typed, I generally use the third on the budget, fourth on the financials.
Yeah.
Yeah,
so
huh.
totally doable now.
Well, it looks like you have a lot built here, so it would be unfortunate if people aren't using it for different reasons. So it's something
Yeah,
for us to,
but
it's
like I
something for
said,
us to look at,
if
for
there's
sure.
if there's any reason you're not using it, please let me know what that reason is so we can't not have that reason anymore.
Right, exactly.
I mean, sometimes it's just too much information and we have the ability to drop off things if you want to drop them off. We don't, it's not, there's just a ton that we've added, from the initial release of this to be able to utilize, hopefully have places utilize it. And if you don't want to utilize it, you just want to grab everything straight from Excel, that's perfectly fine too.
Hmm. Yeah,
George,
I'll have to
can you
take a
hear me
look,
now?
better look at it.
Hello, what? I'm sorry, somebody asked something.
George, can you hear me now? This is Lisa.
Hi, Lisa. Yes, we can now hear you again. You must have found your mute on your mic button.
Oh, I wasn't muted. I've been talking all along, but I think it's getting lost.
Okay.
So if I stop again, say something, but the goal of our group was to try to get all of us, even though we do our work a little differently, to at least get on the same page with some of the features that we're not using in Cogitate. Like, quit doing all the manual transfer vouchers, start using invoicing, use receipting, use bank recs.
Mhm.
And as far as the financial reporting, I think a lot of the issues with our managers across the state is they want information, and we should be able to get better financials out of Cogitate quicker. And we shouldn't be all probably doing it 15 different ways. And I think some people don't do anything. So that's the goal of our group. So I wanted to get into this financial reporting and budgeting so we could give our managers a little bit better information. Does that make sense?
Yeah, and that's the whole reason we built it, so that it wasn't, oh, we have this budget calc value, things set up 15 or 30 years ago, and nobody's kept it up to date. So we're missing four of our, primary assets that are normally listed because nobody knows how to add to it. That's been what we've come across before. Because they
So
just
that's
keep,
our, yeah.
but this would be easy to, where we made as much thing as easy to add. You don't have to know the account numbers. It just shows up. Hey, you don't have this account number listed anywhere. Do you want to put it in? You know?
But we don't give our managers just what straight comes out of Cogitate. We want to do some manipulation and calculation to it, like
Mhm.
our cash budgets on a biweekly basis, where there's different kinds of budgets they need at different times.
Okay.
So, because otherwise we're just regurgitating the trial balance is all we're doing with what I'm seeing right here. So I've got to be able to do more stuff to it than just that. So I'll get my hands in it and then I'll give you a
Okay.
call.
I mean, we do have, like, in here, we have the, on month, when you go to there, we have trends you can set up for, like, sometimes your revenue, you might only get the revenue. We get the revenue the first 3 months of the year, and then we never see another penny the rest of the year out of that revenue stream. Well, you can put that in your trend. So you can sow 33, 33, 33 for the first 3 months and then 0 for the rest. Then your budgets look correct, as you're going through to see where we're at on the percentage.
Right.
So we've done some things like that are that right now are not part of budget calc. But again, if there's more that we need to do, please let us know. There's more things that we can apply to things on a basis, but we just need to know what you need, because it's very hard for us to, outside of, we had a small group, we worked in the small group to get it this far, but obviously there's now small little adjustments that people need for certain things. It's like we got 3 accounts that we need to do completely different, so we need to set up a way for that difference to be part of the assigning of that budget line.
Gotcha.
Okay, comparing 2 years, Paul, where do we end up on that?
That hasn't gotten started yet.
From
That is on the list of things to do.
So we would do, my guess it would be in here right at the get-go. Would there be a comparison here, or do we think it'd just be a whole new thing that would do the comparison? give us this year, give us last year, and then we compare.
Yeah, something along those lines. Yes.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, certainly Bob will be doing something that will do comparisons on it.
What I wanted to do is, and it's not to the reception, it's to our meeting at 10 o'clock in the morning. Whatever you're doing for a financial report, even in Excel, or whatever you're using for a budget, bring the finished document so we can share it with each other and then start trying to figure out how we can get it out of Cogitate if we aren't. Is that a good starting point?
Well, I don't know if everybody has a mic, but
I
think-
think so, Lisa.
yeah, I think that's a reasonable request, Lisa. I mean, those that can hear us, maybe send out an email to everybody as well from your list of who's part of that group.
Yes, I will send it to the email. It's because there's
Mm.
probably people in our group that aren't on right now.
Right.
But we keep talking about it, so it's time to bring them with.
Yeah.
Let's
now
take a
that-
peek at them and let's get
now,
started.
now that the mention of budget calc going to be disappearing.
Yeah. Lisa, I'll call you sometime before that meeting because I'm not going to be able to, I don't believe I'll be able to attend that session. So,
Okay, we'll keep you on the same page, Tanya.
yeah, I
it-
have some ideas. So I'll call you sometime before that and talk to you about them. So,
Perfect.
Do you guys send out like an email at the very beginning for what's going to be happening at the next meeting?
Hi, George. A lot of times it's a miscellaneous mix of what we're going to talk about, but we try to talk about the big topic, like, plan on working on invoicing or something like that.
Mhm.
But we just are people who wanted the email. I think Chelsea does it for me, our administrative assistant. I want to say we have about 26 people on the email chain. Usually 12 to 15 people show up.
Okay. Can you add us to the chain just so we can keep track of what's being talked about?
Certainly. It's very generic.
That's fine.
It's-
I'm just looking for
but we-
big item topics so that the thing is I can ask then later afterwards for people that might have attended, what did we discuss? Is there something, we want to be involved in this, really, we do. We just can't physically be there, so that's our biggest issue is the limitations of our travel budget.
And we
Um,
know that, and Frank is really good and about keeping us on the same page with you guys. And then we usually veer off on another topic
that's
happening in
perfectly
the offices.
right. I'm
But
perfectly
we'll
happy
keep
with
you-
that.
We'll keep you posted.
Yeah, but I just want to be part of the email so I know I can remind myself. It will help me remember that you guys are going to be there during that time, so I don't schedule something else that's at that same time. Because I think there's one time I did something that was going to be on a meeting day,
Okay.
and who knows, maybe I'll make a guest in one of those Elvis appearances.
All right.
Any other questions by anybody?
We did have one more on document management.
Okay.
Frank is wondering if the access to documents will be available for viewing by all users without giving access to the vendor file.
No, we can't do that, Frank, because part of the document managements are going to be pay stubs and W-2s. So we really got to make sure if you don't have payroll, you can't get into the pay stubs, W-2s. Because part of that document management is how we're going to be adding the viewing of those things up on the MyWork. We don't want to have MyWork have to have the ability to generate those documents anymore. It should just be able to read the documents that are generated and set up. So like your export to pay stubs, part of it will be adding a pay stub to everybody's personal account for that pay stub date. And then that way, when they go to document management on the MyWork, they'll be able to see the listing of their pay stub and pick the date, and it will show them the pay stub for the PDF. But I don't want to have MyWork generate that PDF if you follow that. It should just be displayed, because once you bring it up on the phone or the internet, you can download it to your local machine and it's just fine. While it's still password protected, and it doesn't change. It's not like if they recalculate it again, all of a sudden their banks might have changed because of the bank calculation there's an adjustment made. They can still see they can still see all that change, but I'm just saying at the time of their pay stub should stay what was given out at the time of the pay stub. Well, we can look at it, Frank. I mean, there's things we could do. Possibly we could build something that, you can give basically somebody access to the higher level in a different way. Maybe we could provide a separate, view only option where they can see, pieces that you allow. Who knows? It's just a wide open field right now, but we just need, like I said, we need early adopters to get through all of the questions that are going to be common for, 90% of the road commissions. And then the last 10% will be just onesie twosies as you try to start using it. Yeah, they'll be able to see all their past invoices from AP. That was one of the things I didn't kind of show. When you post an AP to an inventory item, it actually gets added to the inventory item as well as an AP. So a lot of these things duplicate, when I add an invoice to a particular place. So yeah, work orders as well. Work orders is in here. So if I go to pay inventory and we go to work orders, that's under, oh, sorry, equipment, my bad. We go to equipment and we have PFA documents for just a piece of equipment in case you have like a warranty on it or something. So, let's go to the loader. So I can add a document to this loader. So let's just do, let's see, in a new file that I have. Oh, let's see if I got it. There's some on my share drive. I've got some PDFs, I think. Yeah, there we go. 1099 MESC, who knows what it is. So, and I'm going to put that in. I'm going to call that a manual for the loader, save. Yeah, can't take it off the Z drive. My bad. Still a bug we have, but basically you get the idea where you can bring it in and you'll see the document and the preview will come up right away for it. Now this was the PDF that I added to the loader. So now if I close it and I go down here and I come back to loader, I can click on PDFA. Now there's a document that I did for him. So, we're, like I said, we're adding this ability to a lot of places. And you had asked for like the work orders. So if I go to work orders, again, we have PFA documents here. So if I go to, give me a piece of equipment, 689, I can go to PFA documents. I can add a document to this particular work order. As well as when I add it to this work order, it will add it to the equipment number. So if I go to that equipment number, they would see it. So if I did something like, let's just do a quick new scan because I know that works. I'm on the Canon, I'm on the flatbed scan. Yeah, we're working on that, Bob. It's one of the things that we talked about issues with it. So there's some places you can delete the documents now. But we've got to work out how we want to work out better the mechanism of how do we allow that to happen, and then what if you don't want somebody to be able to delete it, things like that. But we are on the idea of that. We're just trying to get through the things that we're trying to do. So if I add this as an insurance document, and I go ahead and say done. So here's the document to this work order. And let me go ahead and close that again to the 0669. So then if I close this and I go back to, well, let's just go to the big equipment for document management. So if I go to here, I don't have that one. So looks like we didn't add it to that one. Eventually it will work that way. So if I go to the equipment, and I go to 0669, it should show up. But maybe not, because I haven't verified equipment yet. All I've done working on is just AP. Stop it. Yeah, I don't think it added it to it. But eventually, when you add it to a work order, a specific work order, it'll add it to that work order, but then it will also add it to the equipment for that work order, which makes sense. That way you don't have to add it twice, kind of a thing. And that way, if you're looking from the equipment perspective, you can see all the different perspectives, but I don't think you'll be able to see the work orders are a little different. So you can delete it. I mean, if I go to the big boy one, I go to document manager here, you can delete a document by clicking on that. So we kind of have it, but there's certain restrictions on some of these and security that we want to make sure. Okay. Any other questions?
We did have a couple questions.
Okay.
Lisa asks, will there be any additional cost for document management?
Nope. Comes free of charge.
And then Frank additionally asks, would the payables documents be attached automatically to the work order?
Payables, documents. Yes, if you specified work order in payables, it will get attached to the work order, as well as the piece of equipment.
You might have already said it already because I got interrupted, but like, could we take bid documents and scan them in and attach them to a piece of equipment?
Sure,
That'd be super helpful.
there's no real restriction, so we'll probably even add, if you think that a lot of places are going to be doing bid documents, we'll add it as a category so that way you can, you guys can't create your own categories right now. So each individual major category, like inventory, payables, has a certain number of categories that we want to split the, incoming documents at. So clearly it looks like we should probably add bid to the document management for equipment.
And I'm thinking the fixed asset, and they could be tied, because then you could go back and look at your bid spec for a loader you bought 3 years ago. If you want to buy the same loader, you wouldn't have to recreate the wheel.
Well, like I said, Frank, we tried our best to try to think about how a road commission would use it. Okay, anything else as we're getting close to the witching hour? Thank you, Frank. Well, I'm excited about it. How about you guys? Is everybody excited about this? All right, well, I'm gonna call it a day for everybody. We will see everybody on Tuesday for a fun jolly time at our reception welcome reception. And you guys all have a great afternoon. And like I said, if you have any more issues with us, give us a Yankee on the phone. We're always here to answer and help. And everybody have a great afternoon.
You are now working smarter with ProFund Accounting. Thanks for watching. Be sure to like this video and subscribe to our channel for more content like this.